Yes, we're live. And can you handle the truth about Costa Rica? You know, some people say it's impossible. But I'm here to tell you that if you're here live today, you are part of a miracle. I'm going to tell you all that and much more in just a moment. But first, who am I? I'm Alan. And this is my beautiful co host, Rebecca. And we are living in Costa Rica. And we're here to kind of give you the cold, hard facts about living in Costa Rica.
As we know it.
I don't know if you want to know it as we know it or not.
Surely it's not this hard for other people.
No,
Huh?
you know, we often say money solves a multitude of issues.
Yes.
But in reality, you know, it doesn't matter how much money you have, some issues,
Are going to be difficult. Is you can have
regardless, huh?
difficulties regardless. Yeah.
Because people are going to simply tell you it's not possible, you can't do it, and sometimes it really is easy to do. However, because you're a gringo and I got dollar signs in my eyes, I'm going to tell you you can't do it. And maybe if you pay me enough money, I'll tell you I'll change my mind.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Okay.
A lot of challenges we have though is because we are pinching pennies.
Well, you know, I gotta agree. A lot of challenges we have is there's really two reasons. Number one, we don't know the language. It's not required to know the language. We are constantly learning all the time. Heck, I'm still learning English. but, and life is tough, right? You're right, Doug. So he said, life is tough. Wear a helmet. Where's my helmet at?
Yeah,
So
I would not recommend coming without knowing the language, but it
does,
can be done.
it's possible.
We're doing it.
We've done it for stinking almost 8 years now.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
no, I mean this is August 1st, and it's really a miracle day. And November 16 will be 8 years, won't it?
November 13th.
No,
will be
November
18.
13 will be 8 years. So hey, but it is a lot of fun. And even if you do have more money than you know what to do with, there's a lot of challenges. And one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to persist and you're going to find a way around, over, through the obstacle, or you're thinking, don't like it? Go home, gringo. It's really that simple. And we often say that, don't we?
Yes, we do.
And
That
we're
keeps
usually talking about
Yeah, do
ourselves.
we say that to each other to remind each other? You know what? We're here by choice, so we don't have to be here. Nobody's keeping us here.
That's
We
right.
can go home anytime we want to.
Nobody forced us to come to Costa Rica. Nobody handcuffed us and said, go to Costa Rica, right?
Right.
So, you know, there's a lot of expat groups you can join, a lot of YouTube channels where all they do is just complain. And, you know, hey, we give you the cold, hard facts. We give you the truth. We try not to complain about it, but we try to give you the facts so that you will be prepared about it, okay?
Right, because if you just focus on the positives, there's so many positives. Things are so beautiful and there's so many wonderful things that if you just focus on the positive, it'll get you through. So, but it's a little tough sometimes when you have a bad day. But at least you're having a good life.
You know, if you got a bad day, you know, an apple juice kind of will solve a lot of those issues if you don't get too deep into it. So anyway,
Yeah, and thinking about the challenges, talking about that, even if you have a lot of money, let's say like you come and you hire a crew to, hire people to help you build your home or whatever, there are still going to be some challenges, it don't picture it's going to be like in the U.S.
yeah, you know, this is no, you know, a lot of times as okay, as gringos or as Americans, okay, because the true meaning of gringo is an American, although in Costa Rica they call any foreigner a gringo, okay, and it's important you know that. So it's not a derogatory term at all. But as an American, we're quite spoiled. I mean, everything is safe, and we're spoiled in reality for a couple of things. We're spoiled in reality that everything is safe. The people are lawsuit happy, and because of their lawsuit happy, then they go kind of overboard on the safety on a lot of things, which
Yeah.
make life difficult.
Yeah, and when you're talking about safety, like as far as not safe from being robbed and stuff like that, you're talking about in things like
It like you're
Like if-
driving down the street and there's in America, I don't care what street you're on, there's white lines that are on the side, there's a yellow line in the middle, and if it's two double lines, you know that it's not safe to pass.
Yeah.
If it, there's reflectors, there's signs that say there's a steep curve, those kind of safety issues, right?
right.
That you're talking about.
Right. That's what I assumed you were meaning. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, there can be
Because there'll be a lawsuit in the U.S. The government will, the town, whoever will take care of these things, because if not, they're going to get sued.
That's right. I mean, who in their right mind would imagine that someone could actually sue a company for spilling coffee in their own lap? I mean, really, people. But that happens. And in Costa Rica, you spill coffee in your lap and try to lawsuit. See how far that gets you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's some good and,
And that's
bad.
some good to that.
Yeah,
That
because
not
then
everybody,
there-
it's like use your common sense. If you're walking down the street and there's a big old hole in
That's
the
right.
sidewalk,
I mean, if you
watch
trip,
where you're going.
That's right. If you walking down the sidewalk and you trip on a crack, then don't go suing nobody because you were the idiot that was looking at your phone and not watching where you were going, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of truth to it. There's some things that you just simply have to use some good old common sense. And I'm glad it's that way because I think a lot of people have gotten away from using common sense. Huh?
Yeah. It keeps us alert. We know not to walk around, drive around, or anything just not paying attention, because there are too many things that can happen. Everything from a herd of cows being in the road to there just being a missing section of the road, and or a car stalled. And you might see a branch. By the way, if you see a branch in the road, know that in Costa Rica,
it's really a caution cone.
yeah, they tend to use that. We learned that fairly quickly. There's they'll just go break a branch and put it down the road in front and down the road in the back, and they all know that is a warning sign that somebody's broken down, on the side of the road, or in the road rather, because there are no real shoulders on almost any of the roads, even the main roads,
Matter of fact,
outside of the city.
Yeah, outside of the city. Matter of fact, I don't know. I can't recall any place in Costa Rica that had true shoulders like what we're used to in America, huh?
No, not like what we're used to, but in the city they do have some.
Yeah.
Some in the city, but yeah. So when someone's broken down, they are pretty much in the road, or they get off as much as they can, which
sometimes is not much, is it?
no, because it's the side of a
It's the
the
side of a
mountain.
cliff.
It's like if you pull off the road, you're going down. So
So, like Rebecca was saying, if you happen to be going and all of a sudden you see, some branches in the road, know that that's a safety cone and it's a warning that, hey, someone is broke down above you. And then a lot of times the cars coming this way will flash their lights and it's letting you know, hey, someone might be broke down. There's a problem up ahead.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, and another funny thing that they use that we're not used to is if somebody will slow down and they want you to go around them. So,
Wait a minute. I've got, this makes no sense at all. But this is true. Okay,
Okay, so you're going down the road and they slow down. They want you to go around them for whatever reason, and they'll put their left blinker on. And that's their sign, their indication to you for you to go around, that it's clear for you to go around. Well, we're not used
Wait
to
a minute.
that.
Wait. Are you sure? Because where I come from, if I put my left blinker on, that's
That means
indicating
don't go
everybody
around.
that I'm about to turn left.
Right.
So you're telling me they will put the left blinker on, telling me that they're not turning left, but it's okay to pass.
Right. And
Are you sure?
Yes. And so, why are you doing that? You see that all the time. We laugh
Yes, but
about
I
it.
wanted to make sure that these people really know we're not lying.
And what's really dangerous about it is, well, at first we didn't know that's what they were doing, so we're definitely not going to go around a vehicle that has its left blinker on, that's going slow. We think that they're about to turn. Well, we caught them when there was no place for them to turn, and they keep going, and they weren't turning.
And we really caught on when a Tico employee of mine said he's telling you that it's safe to pass.
Right. So, but what if they are turning left? That's where the problem comes in, because the same signal that indicates that they're turning left is the same one that they use to tell you, hey, go around me. I'm not, I'm just going slow, not turning. So,
So,
watch out for that. Don't,
you know,
don't trust that. Well, I guess err on
you
the side
have
of
to
caution.
be very, very, very careful,
With the
when driving
driving.
in Costa Rica, okay?
Yeah.
Almost anywhere. So anyway,
I mean, I've driven in Houston. I've driven in New Orleans, and I'm I don't like to drive in Costa Rica.
hey, I got to tell you that I believe we met a Texan on the road yesterday. Now, if you're from Texas, you're going to know what I'm about to tell you, okay? Because we grew up in Louisiana, and I'd often go to Texas. And if you go to Texas, then oftentimes if you're on a 2-lane road and you wanting to pass somebody, but the person in front of you is going slow and they see you're closing up, they will ease over onto the shoulder to give you room to pass. Texans are just very considerate people. Well, I was shocked when yesterday we were driving and I saw the car in front of me just about to tailgate the guy in front of him, and the guy in front of him pulled over, and it was an unusually large shoulder. It was, I think,
It
a
was
turning
really
lane.
the side of
It was
the
really a
road,
turning
though.
lane. And so the guy passed, and he got right back in. And then I got behind him, and the guy pulled over, and I was like, that's got to be a Texan. And of course, Rebecca had no idea what I was talking about, so I shared with her that's what Texans do, or when I was going through there years ago. So hilarious,
Anyway,
okay?
we've talked a lot about nothing, and
And look, Doug brings up a good point. He says if they turn in their lights on the left blinker on to tell you to pass, well, it's okay to pass because when they're turning, they really don't use their blinkers.
that too. That is so true.
That's a good
That
point,
is so
Doug.
true. Yes.
So, and Bruce says, and they will also make a left turn from the right lane.
That's
Very
true too.
good
That's one of the
point,
reasons
Bruce.
I'm so scared to drive in the circle in San Jose. Those traffic
Yeah,
circles.
they're called roundabouts, and so there's these big traffic circles, and they will exit the inside lane to go. I'm like, dude.
Yeah. And there'll be 18-wheelers and motorcycles and cars you're trying to watch for, and they're exiting from the inside lane.
That's
it's
right.
scary.
So totally
Anyway.
amazing. But look, I think we got almost 60 people watching right now. So I can't wait to tell you why this is a miracle day.
Yeah.
And so while we've got a bunch of people on, there's only 23 likes. Go ahead and punch that like button, which will indicate to me you want to know this. Can you handle the truth? Why is this a miracle day? So hit that like button right now, okay? Because I can't wait to share with you this amazing news. I'm stoked about this news. Are you stoked?
I am.
All right. Okay. Okay. So, all right. We've told you, if you've read, you have heard that, we came back here in November of 2013. We traveled all over Costa Rica trying to find the perfect spot. And in reality, in December 2013, 1 month later, we actually found the perfect spot, or what we believe is the perfect spot for us, okay? And ever since that day, we've been kind of dreaming and believing that one day we would live there, whether we would own it or whatever. And, well, you know what? The problem is that when we got here, the owner of the property said, because I asked, I work online, is it possible to get internet? And he said, forget it. It's wait. It's impossible to get internet here. Read my lips. Impossible. Well, I'm here to tell you that today is a miracle because today we are live at the Off-Grid Homestead. And look, this is an actual miracle because nobody in the history of mankind has ever accessed the internet from where we are right now. And as you can see, we moved all of our worldly goods from our temporary house in San Isidro, and we are miles and miles away up in probably the most remote area in Costa Rica. And, it's important for me to tell you why that is so phenomenal, because we went through, on August the 23rd of last year, we signed a lease to be here. And from that day, we went wholeheartedly trying to get internet from that day. Almost a year later, we finally have internet. And it's been not only a lot of money, a lot of hard work, and a lot of people telling us it's not possible. It's impossible. Too remote. No, no internet, no internet. Oh, we might have internet. Let's just check. We'll call you back. Wait a stinking month or two. They finally, no, no internet, not possible. And so we went through a lot of internet companies before finally finding an internet company out of San Jose, over 100 kilometers away or more, that actually helped us to get internet.
Yeah, who would have thought that? All the way from San Jose.
Yeah.
Especially when they're running
They
fiber optic lines on the highway. How far from here? About 30 kilometers
there's
from
five. There's, let's see, yeah, about 30 kilometers from here. They run fiber optic down the highway. However, what's the point in bragging that you got thousands of kilometers of fiber optic if you can't access it?
Yeah.
So,
I think they are going to, of course, in
yeah,
the future.
yeah. I think
they could
eventually.
not tell us how long.
Yeah,
Could not say,
they're
was
actually
it gonna
laying down the groundwork,
Yeah.
the foundation, okay? But on that, I have to share this story too, because even though they're laying down the groundwork, in the process of trying to get internet, I did call this one guy, and he tried to sell me internet for thousands of dollars because we were so remote. I didn't bite on that. Talked to another guy who worked in the same company who gave me a decent price on internet and said, but, you know, they're laying down the fiber optic. But if you will pay $1,000 right now, we'll get you fiber optic. And I thought, okay, I might do that. When can I get fiber optic? Oh, I can't tell you when, but it's coming. Oh, so wait, you're saying it could be 3 months, 6 months, a year? Well, you know, it's coming soon, but pay $1,000, we'll get it. In other words, he was trying to con me out of $1,000, okay? So anyway, the truth of the matter is, when in Costa Rica, anytime you do anything, you can go to the same office, ask 5 people the same question, and how many answers will you get?
Probably 5.
Probably 5 different answers. So you have to be persistent, because, you know, the whole point of this is that here's the truth. You know, I say you can't handle the truth. A lot of people will come to Costa Rica and they've got this fantasy in their mind, and it's really not their fault because of advertising. You know, in advertising, obviously no country is going to advertise the bad. They're only going to advertise beautiful women in bikinis on the beach, drinking a Mai Tai, and 2 guys waving a fan, feeding their grapes, or some guy doing the same thing. That's fantasy world. That don't happen, does it?
That don't happen anywhere.
Well, you don't feed me grapes. No, you know, that in Costa Rica is every country, not just Costa Rica, is going to advertise the good. They're not going to tell you that if you want to live in a remote area that you're not going to get internet.
Right.
You know, so the truth of the matter is, if you're coming to Costa Rica, it can be absolutely awesome. However, you do need to know that you're going to go through some challenges, and when they tell you no, don't just quit right there. Ask someone else, wait a week or 2, ask someone else, wait a week or 2, ask someone else. You've got to find out, okay? So let me answer a couple of questions while there are questions coming here, and so that I don't get too far off track, okay? So a lot of people saying, hey, glad to see you. We're so glad that you're here today. And Alfred said, my coffee does look different today. Yes, coffee is different. I got apple juice today. I'm trying to be healthy. So, okay, so we are now finally living off the grid. And, you know, some people really get technical in the terms. And when we say off grid, we're not tied to the grid in any way. There is no electrical lines that come out here. There are no internet lines that come out here. There are no water lines that come out here, okay? So in order for us to survive, we have to create our own water lines coming out of the rivers. We have to create our own electricity that's coming from solar. We have to create our own electricity that comes from putting up towers, and I did a video on that, and you'll see another update video on how we finally accomplished that, okay? So we are off the grid. And
You said electricity, but you meant internet.
okay, yeah, well, there's no electricity, no internet, no water, okay? So we're not actually tied to the grid. We're not tied to any city, municipality, or anything. In order to create all of that, we have to do it on our own, okay? And that's what we're doing. So we are off the grid. I guess in my definition, off the grid, there's other people said, well, if you're connected to the internet, you're not off the grid.
But
Okay.
I think technically, you know, that person that was saying that, they said, look it up in Webster. So I did. I looked it up in Webster's dictionary.
And they kind of confirmed what
Yeah,
we
it
said.
confirmed what we said, because it's not being connected to any utilities like electricity, gas, water. You know, it didn't say anything about communications. You know?
Right. So yeah, we are indeed off the grid. And so a question here came up and said, okay, Doug says, well, what speed and size of data plan and the monthly cost? Okay, so let me give you kind of a cost comparison. Normally in the city, you know, internet has gotten better and better from the time we arrived almost 8 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's a lot better now. You can get 100 megs for what, $40?
Well, about
Dollars or
no. It's about 20,000. No, okay. It's about $70 for 100 megs.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So I can't remember the
40,000
clonas. Yeah, about 40,000 clonas a month. So about $70. So depending on the conversion rate, about 40,000 clonas, you can get 100 megs of download depending on where you're at. Mostly that's going to be close to the city. And you can get about 5 megs of upload, okay? And that's going to cost you about $80. That's not a terrible price, okay? When we were living in a very, very small town, I was paying 20,000 clonas, and all I got was 20 down with 1 up. And they just didn't sell upload, okay? Most Costa Ricans don't sell upload, okay? They don't understand the necessity for upload.
yeah. Well,
And-
we found that they offered upload to businesses,
Right, they
but
offer.
to residential they offered mostly download.
And that's because
that makes sense, because most residential people don't need upload.
That's right. Most residential don't upload, but people like YouTubers, ourselves, people that have businesses online, you know, we do a lot of uploading, depending. Okay. So anyway, so I gave you the reference. You know, in the city nowadays, about $70, you can get 100 megs down. Okay, with 5 up. A lot of places, you know, it was about $40 to get 20 down and 1 up. Well, today I can't get residential internet where I'm at. I had to buy business internet, okay? So now that you know that 100 would cost about $80 or $70, I'm paying for 10 down and 10 up, and it costs me $200 a month, okay? Now, I'm counting my lucky stars that it's that cheap, okay? So to me, that's cheap because 10 down and 10 up is extremely good internet.
And we could have gone with a smaller package. We could have gone with what, 5 and 5 for $150?
We could have, yeah. There's, I can't remember
It wasn't
the prices.
that big of a difference between getting 10 and 10, so we went for the extra.
That's right. That's right. So that kind of gives you an idea. So right now we're getting 10 and 10. Now I'm not getting 10 and 10 right now. Right now we're getting about 3 and 6. So we're getting about 3 down and 6 up. Which brings the next question. Tell me, guys. You know, how are we streaming? Is it buffering? Are you getting good connection? Are you having any problem with the visual? Are you having any problem with the audio? Hey, let me know right now in the comments. You know, with 3 down and 6 up, are we streaming live with no problems? I'd be interested to know. So the comments usually take a few moments for them to come in, but I'm curious to see. And Alfred says, hey, we're doing fine. So that's good. And Julio says, I'm so happy for you guys. I know where you're keeping that apple juice cool. And you are right.
Yeah.
We keep that apple juice in the river.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
nice and crisp up here.
It is.
It's been an overcast day, so we've had to wear a little jacket.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to believe. Some people see us in a jacket, and I had my jacket on earlier. It's finally warmed up a little bit, but it was really overcast. It was sprinkling a little bit, and I actually got cold. So, and
It's
of course,
hard to imagine in Costa Rica, but we're up at a high altitude in the
Yeah.
clouds
And
in the
right,
mountains.
yeah, right now we're at 4,700 feet. Okay, so 4,700 feet, you hardly ever have a problem with mosquitoes. You hardly have any problem with a lot of bugs. So it's really nice, really nice. So anyway, that gives you an idea at what our internet is. Okay.
Yeah. Well, good job, baby. I have to brag on you because he did all this all by himself. He tried to get people to help, and a lot of people did give advice, communicating with us via the internet, telephone, and so forth. But as far as somebody, and those were friends in the U.S., Canada, but as far as somebody being able to come here physically and help him, it was just me.
Yeah, and look, kudos because Rebecca climbed that mountain with me, and of course I went up there several times in the night trying to fix things. Rebecca climbed up there, and she was my gopher trying to help me adjust the antenna. It's amazing. So it's amazing. And when I say climb that mountain, look, we're talking about 2 miles uphill, 1,700 feet, and you picture that's like climbing 170 floors. Okay, so a lot of hard work. But anyway,
Yeah, but you figured all that out. You did the research.
well, you know what? I did a ton of work, but look, I gotta say kudos to Doug, who's on our channel, because Doug
Thanks,
gave me
Doug.
some feedback on our solar equipment. Marcus gave me a lot of feedback on our internet connection, on what we were doing with point to point. I had a couple of other people in Costa Rica that gave me a little feedback. Tried to get some help, but unfortunately, it was very difficult to get anyone to help me. And I just did a lot of research. Matter of fact, I had a close friend said, "How did you learn how to do all that?" And I said, "Watch YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube."
It's true, though. You learned a lot. And from, Marcus and Doug, of course. I don't know that you could have gotten it done this quickly without their help.
Yeah, without their help, it would have just taken me longer to research and research. So it did take some time to do the research. But it's important to realize it, and it just really goes back to, when you're in Costa Rica, you do have to realize, I say it's a third world country. People don't like it when I say that. They want you to say it is a developing country.
And
it is less developed. It is. And they've made leaps and bounds. But the true fact is, yes, it is a third world country. It's not like you see on TV where you got these starving Ethiopian kids or whatever. It's nothing like that. But it just means that the infrastructure is not there. There are a lot of people that are poor economically, but they are enjoying life. And I grew up very, very poor. I didn't know I was poor, okay? But the point is that a lot of people in the United States come to Costa Rica because they're tired of the rat race.
And even the poorest people here are still happy. I mean, they're
absolutely
all happy. Remember when we were kids, and I grew up a little better off than you did, but we were still middle, lower class. We didn't know how poor we were till the Sears catalog came out. Do y'all remember that?
Didn't know I needed it till I saw it.
That's when we realized there were so many things that we could get wanted. But I think here they just are still in that pre-Sears catalog phase, and they're enjoying family. Community is really important to them, and that's what we like. You see that all over Costa Rica. They get together in the evenings. They sit around talking. They go to, community functions, and they support community projects. So it's a culture that is very family and community oriented. A lot of times the ball field is the center of each little town.
Yeah.
And now I have to say, I'm disappointed that it is beginning to change.
Yeah.
With the
younger
generation, and I believe that is solely because of the internet, television type things. They all have cell phones. I went to a park the other day, and just walking, and they were all with their cell phones. It was disheartening to see, because it's happening just like it's happened in the U.S. where people are disconnected. But it's not like that just yet. So
yeah, everything changes, so it's okay. But we just have to grow with it. But I got to bring up, Doug mentioned a great comment here, which is I have to say. Doug said, Your community rallied around you guys, and he was glad he could help.
Awesome.
That's amazing. And that is so true because when you come to Costa Rica, sometimes you don't have community. And it's awesome that on a YouTube channel, that's the reason we created the forum. That's the reason we created the Facebook group. That's the reason because when you come to Costa Rica, you still need a community. And, you know, my goal in creating the forum, my goal in creating the Facebook group is that we could have a group where we're here to help one another. I don't, you know, if you're in the group or you're in the forum and you can't add something of value, if you're going to just be a troll and you're going to be mean, I'll call you out in a heartbeat. Because I'm going to tell you, you don't understand the point of this forum. You don't understand the point of this group. It's to help one another, to encourage one another, to help one another. So you most definitely, you know, go to any video on our channel and you can click the link to join our forum. There's lots of free places in the forum. Yeah, there is a premium part in there, and it's $10 a month, 33 cents a day to kind of help support us so that you motivate us to keep putting and adding and creating, you know, helping you to not make the mistakes made. Doug is absolutely right.
Yeah.
Being in the forum, you stinking have a community that can help you.
Yeah, and when you're planning to move here, don't underestimate how much you could potentially miss your family, you know, family and friends. And it's nice if you have that cushion of finances to be able to go back, you know, frequently or as often as you want to, you know. So those are all things to consider because it can get lonely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you can go to the link. It's not in this description because we ran into so many technical difficulties. It will be. I'll update it. But in the description of every video, you can go to forum.cloudforestchapel.com. You can join the forum for free. And if you want to support us, we really, really appreciate you supporting us. Or, hey, you don't even have to join the monthly $10. Of course, hey, you can cancel it anytime. But you can click down there in the chat box. There's a dollar sign there, and you can donate anything that you want, from pennies to dollars to millions, whatever you want. But we just greatly, greatly appreciate you. You know, thanks for all the comments and input. People are saying great internet signal. And
the comments and everything have been really such a support. I know we maybe don't say it that much, but you just don't realize, because especially when we're going through all these challenges, oh my goodness, y'all have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's
how wonderful it is to have y'all there and commenting and helping.
That's why we're late today. I mean, it took us all day yesterday to pack, to drive all the way up here, unload all of this stuff. Last night at 7 o'clock in the dark, I'm climbing 2 miles up the mountain with the flashlight because the solar panel wasn't working right, making sure the battery is charged, making adjustments, getting the internet turned on, adjusting the internet antenna here, and testing everything. All of that, in minutes later, because of the new settings, I use LastPass to manage all my password. I've got hundreds of passwords. Well, LastPass, because the security said, you know, there's a new device, it didn't recognize it. And so we had challenge after challenge and didn't think we was going to be able to do a live today. But we persisted. And like Rebecca says, it's amazing to have community, to have people like you guys to come on, to ask questions where we can share our knowledge and help you to understand, you know, to manage your expectations. Costa Rica can be absolutely awesome. You can do whatever you want. But it doesn't mean it's not going to cost you a lot of money or a lot of sweat equity, a lot of hard work.
A lot of patience.
That's right. You know, and you got to have an amazing wife who's going to cheerlead you and say, you can do it, you can do it. Or you might have a wife says, I'm going home. You know, so, you know, kudos. So anyway, great stuff. Okay. So anyway, you know, you know, there's lots of questions and comments, but hey, you know, we're excited to share with you that we're finally here at the Off-Grid Homestead. We're going to be building. We're going to be sharing all of that information. We began to share a little bit of it. And look, I know a lot of you guys don't care to even watch that, and that's okay. But hey, watch the other stuff. We're still going to give you all of the information about coming to Costa Rica.
The news as we get it.
That's right. the news as we get it, keeping you updated on the news. And here's what's, because a lot of people have been asking. And we've been super, super busy because all of our attention and focus has been getting right here. And now that we're here, we can kind of relax, get started building, get our roots down. But Rebecca and I have been talking a lot in the last few days because we knew that this day was coming to actually get that tour set up. Because there's a lot of you wanting to do an expat exploratory tour. And so we're talking about doing our first tour very soon. And we're going to do a Pacific Coast exploratory tour. And look, this exploratory tour, while we're still going to have a lot of fun, we're going to be doing a lot of traveling because you're going to get picked up in San Jose. We're going to travel from San Jose down to Jaco. We're going to check out the whole Jaco area. We're going to check out Estorrillos, the beach. We're going to show you the secret places. We're going to show you where it's safe to live, where it's not safe to live. We're going to take you, down into Uvita, down into Dominical. We're going to take you all the way down to San Vito, down at the southern border.
Up to San Vito.
Is it up to San Vito or down to San Vito?
Up the mountain.
Up the mountain, right?
Yeah, which will be a different
Down to the
temperature, a different climate.
And it's very, very old school, old fashioned, right down in San Vito at the Panama border. Take you to the Panama border and show you where the best shopping is if you want to get gas at almost half price, groceries at half price, and why it's worth it to come. And then take the mountain pass all the way back through Buenos Aires, all the way back into San Isidro. So we're going to really show you the Pacific Coast and give you an idea, an expat exploratory tour, so that we're going to do some fun things, but the goal is so you can get an idea of if you wanted to live in this area, is it the right climate, where you're getting all your questions one-on-one and get all the information you need. So if you think that is an awesome idea, hey, in the chat box, put a 10. Put a 10 in the chat box that you think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, and then later we can do another one, maybe do the Caribbean coast, and another one doing the Nicoya Peninsula, going that direction, because the Nicoya Peninsula is almost all coast, and if you take the ferry, it's not far from San Jose. So, but yeah, they're like from San Jose, there are two main paths, two main roads to go down Costa Rica, like towards the Panamanian border. There's the Pacific route and then the mountain route. And we're going to do a loop. Like Alan was saying, we'll pass by way of the coast and then come up the mountains and then take the mountain pass all the way back.
That's
to
right, making
San
that
Jose.
giant loop. So our first tour is going to be the Pacific tour, and then our next tour might be the Caribbean tour, and the next tour might be the northern Costa Rican tour. So there's like 3 different good tours that we could actually do. So something very interesting. Question came in and says, hey, I live in San Jose, have some land in Galicia. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. And where are you guys? And we're down in the southern central part of Costa Rica, down near Buenos Aires, but it's still 2 hours away from Buenos Aires in the mountains. Very, very, very remote area, okay? So, hey, there's a lot of 10s coming in, Rebecca. There's a lot of people that say, hey, that's a great idea to do that tour.
I think it'd be really fun and informative.
It would be extremely fun, okay? So, and someone says, that's the Southern Pacific area. Sounds awesome, but must be at least 10 to 14 days. Hey, we're not quite sure. It would take us quite a tour. So we have to try to figure out. We don't have all of the logistics figured out, but it would be an absolutely solid week, if not a little bit longer.
Yeah, it would take that long.
It would, without having to rush.
Right, because even though it's not a lot of distance, Costa Rica's not that big, you just can't travel very fast because of the road conditions, the mountains, the curves, and you really have to just take your time stopping somewhere as well. You know, you don't want to just rush through.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, you want to stop and see what's in the area. Obviously, we want to stop and eat at places where it's fine dining. We want to stop and eat the local food so you can know what that's like. You know, we want to give you a flavor, a feel for everything, right? And you know, you'll get in some areas like you know, you'll get down to San Vito, and you might realize real quick that that is too far away from what's a good word for it? Not, you know, too far, not enough. Because in San Vito, beautiful area, but there's nothing there to do
Yeah.
but nature, bird watching, and if that's what you like, you'll fall in love with it. But if you're into doing tours and ain't nothing, there's nothing there. Okay,
Right.
so you know, so
But it has its pluses because
oh, it does. We
yeah.
loved it when we were down there.
Yeah.
Beautiful spot. So just different things. Okay.
Yeah, and it's hard to assess an area just by driving through it, but we've lived in almost all these areas for at least a month or so, so we got to experience.
In most areas, we've lived there 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Rebecca
So we
said,
can give the highlights of the
Yeah.
area. In other words, you know,
just driving through there, if someone doesn't know the history, the culture, haven't lived there, you won't know the truth of the place. You know, there's a lot of people that come to Costa Rica and they're just tourists and they put up a video on YouTube and that's what they do. They go over, but you know, they haven't a clue what the real Costa Rica is about, you know, and that's fine. That's
Well, we always
okay.
say
They're
that
giving information.
if you go just to the touristy areas, then you don't experience, you don't know the real culture.
Yeah, that's
of
right.
Costa
You know,
Rica,
I'm
'cause-
not talking down on those. You know, there's people that do what they do, and that's great that they do what they do. You
yeah,
know,
you just wanted to come and experience the beach and a fine resort, you know, and so forth. But that's not for everybody.
that's
you know.
right. Some people are trying to find out where is the best place to live. We've lived a lot of places. We've been very, very fortunate, so we can share our experiences. It doesn't mean it's right. We're just sharing our experiences because our experience is right for us, right?
And
Give
things,
you an idea.
things change, and things are changing quickly here in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Now, Jim brings out a good point. Jim says the real Costa Rica is when you have to make a living here. And absolutely, you know, so, and, you know, there's several ways that you can make a living in Costa Rica. And, you know, working online like what we do, but for some people that's a challenge. You can buy a business. And I know of several businesses where you can buy them that are, you know, I would say affordable. And so it's instant income. There's a lot of different things you can do, but you do have to, it could be a challenge to make a living in Costa Rica, okay?
Yeah.
So, you know, there are some people that come here, you know, and they're trying to make trinkets and jewelry and they're trying to sell them in Dominical. That's a hard living, my friend, you know, because you can't legally, as a tourist, until you're a resident, and even after you're a resident, it's very, very difficult for you to legally work in Costa Rica because Costa Rica protects their job, their employment for the locals, and that's a very good thing. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. You can work if you have your own business. You can't work in the business. There's so many strange things.
There's several things.
Can't
in
even
one
get into
category
all
you can,
that.
one
Yeah.
category you can't.
Yeah.
So,
But basically, what
that's
the-
why you join the forum to ask those questions.
Yeah, basically what they're meaning is Costa Rica protects its job market.
That's right.
They don't want you coming here as a foreigner and taking a job from one of their residents,
Yeah.
one of their local people.
Now, Jim said another question, and I'm going to throw that out there because I'm not scared of any questions, okay? Jim said, you know, it'll be necessary to be as far away from central government as possible. And I know there's a lot of people that are thinking that way, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're right. That's a hot topic, and we avoid hot topics. But to give you the facts, if you're like Jim and you say it's going to be necessary to be far away from central government, guess what? In Costa Rica, there are so many places that you can live in remote areas, and you can get set up just like we are. You can be far away from government, you know, and I'll admit it feels a lot safer. You know, for me, I have always wanted to even as a kid, let me back up. I've always wanted to know if I could be self-sufficient. Okay, I've always, as a Marine, you know, I enjoyed being a Marine, but even before I was a Marine, I would go to the woods, and I would go to the woods with a salt and pepper shaker, my rifle, and whatever I killed, I ate. Now, I'm not a hunter anymore. There's no hunting in Costa Rica, and we're mostly plant-based diet, so I won't have a hard time eating plants in Costa Rica.
And the occasional chicken
So,
and fish
and I love fish. So anyway,
and shrimp.
even as a kid, I loved seeing if I could survive, and I'd be in the woods for a week at a time, 3 or 4 days. So anyway, we came out here for a totally different reason, and one day that we're going to share that on our channel as to what is the. I mean, put a cliffhanger out there for you. What is the real reason that Alan and Rebecca are in Costa Rica? I'll have to tell you that later in another video.
That's a long story.
That's a long story, but it's a very interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting story. So we'll share that with you sometime. But I've always wanted to be self-sufficient, and now we're in a very remote area. Like I said, we don't have any water, electricity, internet, and we've had to create all that. So now we have solar for our electricity. We finally have internet, and it's point to point with towers, and so now we need. And we're tied to water, electricity, and internet. So we have those 3 basic things for us, but we're not tied to the grid. We have to get our water from the rivers and all that good stuff. So anyway, I'm excited to actually get this chapter of our life beginning. And so in reality, you are a part of history today, because nobody in the history of mankind has ever done what we've done today, to where we're streaming from this location with absolutely zero, you couldn't even make a phone call from here. So it's pretty amazing, and I'm excited to share all that good stuff with you, okay?
I think that's the great appeal for many people about Costa Rica, is that there is still a lot of land available that you can live, away from the masses.
Yeah.
And because of the temperature, the climate, you can grow your food very easily. Pretty much if you throw something on the ground, it's going to grow here.
I can't wait to show you. Like Rebecca said, I hate to interrupt her, but I'm so excited. A few weeks ago, I threw a few carrots and lettuce seeds in the ground, and man, they're coming up. I can't wait to show you. Like Rebecca, you can throw a rock in the ground, and it'll sprout up roots and start growing. Stuff in Costa Rica just is easy to grow, and the environment is perfect for it, but there are things you've got to learn about it. So as we're sharing our off-grid home style, there's so much about it that I will share the cultural differences. The way I mix cement in the United States is not the way they mix cement in Costa Rica. They do almost everything differently, and a lot of it has to do with a mentality that says, just do it. They stole no. Nike stole it from them. It's a just do it mentality.
Well, I think a lot of the things that they've had to do have had to be manual, just, physical labor, because being in a lot of remote areas, and the cost of heavy machinery and stuff, not, how are you going to get that up here?
Yeah.
You can't get a concrete mixer up here. So
there's no concrete truck coming up here, right?
You got to mix it by hand.
Well, I remember when we first came to Costa Rica years ago, a friend took me to a place where they were getting ready to build a new house, and they were digging this big hole in the ground. I'm like, what they're doing? And so they're getting ready to put in a septic tank. And in the United States, I don't know anybody that would dig a hole for a septic tank by hand. But in Costa Rica, that's when I realized that they've got this just do it mentality. There's not going to be there's no backhoe's going to come and do it. Most of the time they don't have the money to afford a backhoe. Now, if you got the money, you can afford a backhoe to come dig it, but labor is cheap, and it'd be a whole lot cheaper just to employ a couple of ticos who want to make money and let them dig the hole. So, they do have a just do it mentality, and that's exciting here. You can give back to Costa Rica by employing people if you got the money, okay?
You
And
can learn a lot of things from them
oh,
because they know how to do things,
yeah,
without modern conveniences.
absolutely. Yeah. So, lots of great things.
People
okay?
still cook on wood burning stoves. A lot of the people cook outside on wood. That's pretty common.
Look,
not in the city, of
not
course,
in the
because
city.
we're gonna have somebody that's gonna say,
Yeah, that's right.
um,
Some people will be like, we
nobody
ain't
around.
that-"
We
yeah.
all have ovens and stoves, and we have everything. We're talking about out in the country.
Well-
It's nothing to see fires burning, and because they're cooking their beans or they're
That's right.
roasting a pig or whatever.
We passed a house, brand spanking new house, built only a couple of months ago, and how are they cooking their food? On fire, wood fire. Now, I don't know the reason. Is it because they can't afford gas? I doubt it. Gas is cheap. But like Rebecca said, when you're cooking beans, it takes a long time. And you know what? Wood is free. So they can cook those beans on a wood fire and let it cook all day. And since, and keep the house warm if they're in a high altitude.
Yeah, or cook it outside.
Or
and
cook
keep
it
the house
outside on a
from-
wood fire.
from
okay.
getting the house so hot.
It's amazing. Look, it's funny. I had to laugh a moment ago because Bruce says, you're right. He says, man, put a baseball bat in the ground and it's going to sprout.
It's true.
You put a baseball bat in the ground, you're going to grow a baseball team.
It's pretty amazing. I see so many plants all over the place, and I want to get them all and just have
Really,
them.
it is absolutely amazing.
The flowers, the variety in the flowers I've never seen before.
If you want to be self-sufficient, it's so easy to do that in Costa Rica. And that's simply because
Yeah.
you've
And
got
that's-
this
that's the
constant
draw.
temperature.
Yeah.
That is the draw.
Yeah.
The biggest, okay, somebody asked me the question, what is the biggest reason you guys love Costa Rica? I'm waiting for somebody to ask me that question so that Rebecca can answer it, okay? All right, Rebecca. The question's coming. What is the biggest reason you love Costa Rica?
The weather.
The weather. Yeah, well, what is the weather? Raining all the time?
The constant temperature. Even when it's raining, it's still pleasant. Even, when it's a hot, no rainy day, it's still pleasant. It's a mild, we can enjoy the outdoors 365 days a year for the most part.
For the most
maybe
part.
a few days a year when there's some, bad storm that comes by, it might rain the whole day. But other than that, because we love the outdoors. And
Absolutely.
in Louisiana, we had a few months of spring, or, well, not even months. We had a few
weeks
of spring, get all excited, love it, and then here would come summer. And it would be so hot, so humid, so full of mosquitoes that we couldn't even enjoy the patio. We couldn't enjoy going outside. So we'd, hold out with 100-degree temperatures waiting for the fall to come. Finally, the fall would get here, and it'd be wonderful for about a few weeks. And we would enjoy the cool weather. Then the winter would come, and it'd be rainy and cold and couldn't get outside, and everything would die back. And
Rebecca and I we love the outdoors. We're getting ready to build a tiny house, and you're going to get to watch that whole build. And, Julio says, no, who was it? Zen Maiden said, would love to see the homestead. I would be so interested in seeing the building, etc. And you're going to get to watch all of that on our channel. We're going to be building a tiny house. And I told someone yesterday, yeah, it's a tiny house. We really don't need much, but I want a huge patio. I want a huge porch because Rebecca and I are outdoors people. We could live on our porch all day long. I could work on my computer, have coffee, enjoy the view.
yeah, but you can't do that in Louisiana.
The mosquitoes will tote you away.
Or it's
right?
so hot and so.
So there's a lot of pros and cons to living in Costa Rica. And since we're outdoors people, we go exercise a whole lot. We go run. And you know what? If it's raining, or we get caught running in the rain, it doesn't matter because it's not cold. We're running in the rain, and it's like, wow, that's just refreshing.
Yeah, and even though we're wearing a little light jacket, I mean, it's not You can go with jacket or without. That's the temperature that I really like. You can have no sleeves or a light, a light jacket, and you're comfortable pretty much either way.
That's right. And Terry said the same thing. She says she's in the UK and she can't fully enjoy the outdoors because,
Yeah.
I mean, she's like stuck in four walls
Yeah.
and it's just so bad
That's
for your
that's what we
well-being.
realized, when we were in Louisiana. We had a beautiful little pond that Alan had made and a little patio that we loved, our little backyard. But my goodness, we could only enjoy it a few, maybe 3 months out of the year, and the rest of the time, like she's saying, we were just cooped up in the house.
That's right, and like she said, it's no fun being cooped up in the house. And Costa Rica is totally different. I kind of got this idea the other day, and I think it'd be a great idea. I'm gonna talk to this one Tika I know, and she speaks good English, but I want to do a video that talks about the difference. What's the difference of Ticos and Gringos? There is a huge difference. Not saying good or bad or one's better than the other, but the reason that a lot of gringos come to Costa Rica is because of the life that the Ticos have.
Yeah, they have a different mindset. People refer to that as the Pura Vida
The
mindset.
Pura Vida mindset, right?
Yeah, a lot of that is like, be happy, don't worry, spend time with family, with friends, enjoy. It has its disadvantages at times because they tend to not think about the future a whole lot. And so, but they do enjoy the present, that's for sure. And I think in the fast-paced world, the life that a lot of people are living, we're living for the future and not enjoying the present,
There's so much about Costa Rica that I can't wait to share. Doug brought up something. He says the living fences are amazing. And if you don't know what a living fence is, I ain't telling you. You're just gonna have to wait because I'm gonna do a video. I saw some living fences the other day, and it's just amazing how everything in Costa Rica seems like it's done differently, and it's almost like it's done economically or it's done. I don't know. This sounds kind of bad. I want to say it's done because they've learned how to do it because they don't have the money that spoiled Americans have. So they've learned interesting ways to do the exact same thing that didn't cost money.
Right. I think it's mostly the natural way. They make use of natural resources versus, if you're going to put up a fence, instead of going buy all the metal and the metal post and whatever, make a natural fence. It's free and it's going to last forever.
Absolutely.
You're not going to have to change it out.
Now, Jeff brings in a good question. He says, look, you guys lived all over the place. He says, can you comment on the bugs in the different areas that you've lived at?
I think about, because of some friends who just come from the beach, reminded me of sand fleas. Some of the beaches, you got to watch out for the sand fleas. So it's like these little, I don't know if they're really fleas, but they call them sand fleas, but they will bite the daylights out of you, around your feet, your ankles. They mostly exist where it's the beach, but it has a lot of grass, a lot of vegetation near the beach. And so, we've lived at a couple of beaches like that, and I'd just run really fast through the grassy part and hurry and get to the sand that was closer to the water. To avoid those sand fleas. But if you don't know about them and you end up sitting, close to the grassy edge, they will tear you up.
That's right.
On the Caribbean.
Well, before you go there, not only the sand fleas, but almost anywhere on the beach areas, and if you're anywhere close to grass, not only the sand fleas, you're going to have a lot of mosquitoes. Remember, the one house, we lived in Jocelyn's house, and we were house sitting, and she had a beautiful landscape backyard, flowers and everything, but with all those flowers, the mosquitoes. So I'd a surfboard and I'd be like, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. And I'd run, because the mosquitoes would tote you off before you get to the beach.
That was mostly in the late evening.
Yeah.
But they were also bad. Yeah, it's just where there's a lot of vegetation around the beach areas, there can be a lot of mosquitoes. To hang clothes in Jocelyn's backyard, I had to spray something or just be constantly swatting at them and do it really quickly. But and then I was going to think the Caribbean side wasn't too bad with that, except that the Caribbean side, even though there are no hurricanes, that have made landfall as long as they've been recording, keeping those records. They've had no record of a hurricane making landfall in Costa Rica, but it gets those outer band winds. And when we were there on that side for about a year, there was a hurricane that came through, and it
That was
brought,
nearby.
yeah, it ended up being really close, and it brought in, like the winds brought in several different kinds of mosquitoes. I know at one point in the house, remember I showed you there were like 5 different kinds of mosquitoes.
And the mosquitoes were literally eating me alive.
Yeah, we had to work under mosquito nets. We had to sleep under mosquito nets. I had to have a fly swatter in my hand at all times. I mean, it really was that bad. But it didn't last that long. It was maybe a couple weeks, and then they just died off.
But keep in mind that house had no screens whatsoever,
Yeah.
as is most houses in Costa Rica. They're not sealed, don't have screens.
Yeah.
So,
especially on the Caribbean side, the houses, are not. There are no screens on the windows, and like Alan was saying, the where the walls don't completely connect to the roofs. It's almost like they put walls and then they put a roof setting on top of it, and it's not sealed.
Nothing, and I think they do it for ventilation, but it's not sealed, so you get a lot of bugs. So the important thing here, the short answer to this question, Jeff, is that the lower altitude you are, the more bugs you have. The higher altitude you are, the less bugs you have. However, you are going to Costa Rica. It is a jungle. It is a rainforest. And this area where we're at 4,700 feet, we've seen less bug, mosquito, snake issues than anywhere else that we've ever been, okay? But no matter where you live at, if you build a house and it's sealed, you won't have nearly as much. Remember when we stayed over at the first house sit that was on, well, it wasn't on the beach. I forget their name. They had a really nice house. It was sealed, the first house.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know that we want to say their names.
Yeah, but anyway, the first house we lived at,
it was not on the beach, but
it
you
wasn't
could
on
see
the beach. It was close to
ocean.
beach. My point is that house was sealed, okay? And because it was sealed and it had screens, I hardly ever had any ants in the house.
Plus, they had an exterminator go like once a month do the service,
That's right.
So you can get those services, and for sure in the city, we've stayed at lots of Airbnbs on our travels through, and not really seen ants, roaches, spiders, and all that. But a lot of those people use pest control. But we've also stayed in areas where people don't spray. It's like you're in Costa Rica, so it's their house too. That's the attitude. And we've had sugar ants and big ants, leaf cutters, spiders, scorpions. I've been stung by a scorpion. I've gotten out of the bath and grabbed my towel and had a scorpion on my towel. It's
But with the scorpion issue, the more you're in the area and the more you clean, the less you see the scorpions. So
it depends on the area though, because that little area just had a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of scorpions. It was almost the seasons matter too. When it's really, really hot, I find that's the places that had the scorpions.
Yeah.
But like here where we are at this altitude, you still have to deal with the chiggers. They're really bad if you get off of a trail, or you let the grass.
So in the dry season, so clarify, because dry season you have the chiggers, the little red bugs, if you don't know what that is, and they'll be around your ankles and your socks or your waistline, and man, those things itch like the dickens.
And you don't know that they're on you until it's too late. Once you know they're on you, they've already.
Yeah. So, so in the dry season we have to deal with the chiggers. And that's only if you're going hiking in the woods and stuff. But hey, some insect repellent helps a whole lot.
Yeah, and just don't get off trail. We end up going off trail because we set the camera up off in the grass.
Don't go off trail and you don't have that problem.
Yeah.
Now, if in the wet season, which is the rainy season like now, over here we got the horse flies, so you're constantly
deer flies, horse flies.
But if your area is not grown up, you don't have a whole lot of the deer flies or horse flies, okay?
Yeah.
So
and there's all kinds of natural sprays for that. But I have to say, if you are afraid of bugs,
don't go to Costa Rica.
Probably not. I mean, this morning I tapped my shoe before putting it on. Always do that, and a big spider crawled out of my shoe. You know, I mean, and this morning there was a daddy long leg that just, you know, skedaddled across the bed. So you just can't be. If you're definitely afraid of those kinds of things, it's probably not a good.
Yeah, yeah.
Fit.
So now, Maureen asked, "What is the temperature range at your homestead?"
I don't know that we've checked it.
Well, I was thinking that same thing. You know, it seldom ever gets hot here, and in the rainy season, it's a lot cooler. So we were actually had jackets on today.
I like to say that it's spring every morning and it's fall every night, because in the morning it's just a little bit crisp. You know, you can use a little jacket, but you don't need one necessarily. And unless the sun has just been out full force, you won't even break a sweat. And in the evening, it's cool enough to make a little fire. We make, you know, we often make a fire in the evening.
I love to build a fire, roast marshmallows, have a glass of wine by the fire. You know, it's nice that I can do that, and it's enjoyable. So the temperature range, I would say, in the rainy season, ranges from 60 to 70 degrees. It's just very comfortable. Might even get a little bit cooler than 60 in the mornings. Okay, in the summertime, it will get a little bit warmer, but I bet you it's not getting much warmer. You know, at the peak of the day, it might be 75, okay? But it's just very comfortable temperature, okay?
Yeah, it's definitely not a place that you need a pool. We've lived by
I
the
don't know
beach.
that you would get in a pool much here.
Right. The water is, we have a beautiful river that has some natural pools, but it's too cold. It's too cold to get in there unless the sun's been hitting the water all day long. But we've lived by the beach where, oh my goodness, we just couldn't wait. Even at night, we would jump in the pool, and it'd be so refreshing because it was so hot.
Yeah. Now, Lewis says, it's nice to see Americans living in Costa Rica. How easy is it to build an off-grid homestead, and how much money do you need? So to answer that question, Lewis, you know, in my opinion, it's easy. It's very easy to build an off-grid homestead in Costa Rica if because of the temperature. Okay, now the question is, you got to be willing to put in the sweat equity and the money. Now the question is on the money. All that depends on your lifestyle. Okay, I debate whether to even answer this question or not as far as the internet goes. Okay, but that kind of goes back to what I said in the email that I sent out. You know, you can't handle the truth. It's the cold hard facts, and is it worth it? Okay, so. Man, I debate answering. The question here is, how much did it cost to get internet to the off-grid homestead?
I don't really know.
I don't know if I want to actually answer that question or not.
But there was a lot of trial and error. But
there was
is
a
that
lot
what
of
he's asking? Or?
Well, he wants to know how much it costs for a off-grid homestead. An off-grid homestead, and it does, you know, so to get an off-grid home, it depends. Do you want internet or not? You know, are you building a big house or not? You know, we're going to build a tiny house. Now, here's my honest opinion. My honest opinion, if you're going to build something that's not too elaborate and you're going to build an off-grid homestead, I've said this 100 times. If you have $250,000, you can live anywhere in Costa Rica, and life is it's just going to be amazing, okay? Because it just really, with $250,000.
Well, we say that because there's been so many homes on the market that were like medium range, you know, in that price range, that were really nice houses for the price, is why we say it. I mean, there's some that are a lot more and some that are less, but we found that that was kind of the median range for getting a really nice nice house. But I know I cut you off, but you know what I was, while you were saying that, I was thinking how we see a lot of people just build a house out of natural, like out of bamboo, out of, you know,
whatever they get.
Whatever they
Some
can
people
get.
make these earth homes out of clay and hay and stuff like that.
So because of the temperature, I mean, you almost could live, like right now, we're sitting under a barn. You know,
we're sitting in what used to be a stables for a horse, okay?
Yeah, and it's comfortable. If we wanted to, we could probably sleep here. But the weather is mild like that, as long as you have some protection from the rain, you could build a very primitive structure and live physically, temperature-wise, comfortably. Now, convenience-wise, I don't know, but you, I don't know if you can, if you're allowed to even build. I mean, like in the United States, you can't just build a house. You got to have a electrician come and check your wiring. You got to have the State Department of Health come and look at your plumbing,
Check your septic tank
all
and
that.
all of
I
this
mean,
stuff.
Yeah, and so,
So in Costa Rica, there's a lot of stuff that you can do, and it really all depends on your lifestyle. I mean, in reality, you can come down here and you can buy a small piece of property and you can build your own home, and depending on what you build it out of, you can enjoy life. It really just depends on your lifestyle.
Yeah. That's why that question is so hard to answer.
It's hard to, if you want to live the American dream in Costa Rica, you better have $1 million or $2 dollars, because it's going to cost you a lot. It does cost more here. Randy asked the question here a while ago, and he says, I'm wondering about buying things. We are much like you guys, but how much does it cost to buy a coffee maker, dishes, things to get started? We actually did a video showing a lot of those type of things, so go watch that video, and it talks about the cost of living shopping in Costa Rica.
I have a good answer to that. That's just a rule of thumb, but we have found it to just be pretty true across the board. Everything is almost double, because if it's not made here, then they have to import it. And as far as I know, Costa Rica makes very few
of their own
things, like rice pots and microwaves, refrigerators, stuff like that. They import those things in, and we have found it to be almost double the cost.
Yeah,
of anything.
There's some things that just defies logic. Costa Rica makes some ice cream, and I'm an ice cream-aholic, okay? I once had an affair with Dairy Queen, okay? I mean,
crazy.
I love ice cream, but it's hard to find good ice cream in Costa Rica. Pops makes a good ice cream. But anyway, I kind of got on a rabbit trail. There's one company called Dos Pines. I think it just means 2 pines, right? 2 pine trees. Anyway, Dos Pines, maybe it's 2 pineapples. Anyway, Dos Pines.
Piñas.
Dos what?
Dos piñas would be 2 pineapples.
Okay, so anyway, it's Dos Pines. Yeah. Anyway, Dos Pines is a company that makes ice cream. Ice cream is decent, and the ice cream is expensive, okay? But they sell that exact same ice cream in Panama. So Dos Pines ships their ice cream, sells it in Panama, and do you know, you can get that ice cream at almost half price in Panama. So I'm thinking, wait a minute. They make it in Costa Rica, ship it to Panama. I could get it cheaper in Panama than I can in Costa Rica.
Yeah, that was one of those things that just didn't make sense to us, because
I'm like, that don't make no sense.
So, I don't know.
So I don't understand it all. But like Rebecca said, if they've got to import it into the country, it's going to be expensive, okay? But there's a lot of things that you can buy. And the stuff that you do buy in Costa Rica, the quality is just not there, okay? So that's why.
Because they get a lot of, like, Chinese-made things, like no name brands that that aren't the quality. Yeah. But you can find high-quality name brands. You're just going to pay more for it. But, it's a one-time, well, maybe not one time, but, you making this, getting your household appliances. We did it when we first got here. We bought all cheap, no name brand appliances, because
that didn't last long.
We had to furnish the whole, get everything, blender and I mean just everything, coffee maker, and we didn't want to spend a bundle, so we bought what we had to have, but didn't buy the expensive ones, and they did not last. But what we did is, as in time, we bought the good coffee maker. Then we bought the good microwave, a little bit at a time.
Now,
so that's one of those things that money solves a multitude of issues.
Now, here's a couple of good questions, because while on that topic, Lewis brought up a good topic. He said, Lewis said that, no, not Lewis, Julio. Julio said, the prefab concrete houses start as low as $10,000. So, if you're on a budget, you can really if you have a small piece of property, you can throw up one of the prefab concrete houses really cheap. And I know one lady who built a prefab concrete house. It was decent. I want to say it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and it was only like $20,000. Okay, so you can buy a prefab concrete house, and they go up fast, couple of weeks. Okay, so I'm glad that you threw that in there, Julio.
Yeah, and they just have the metal roof,
That-
and
there's not a lot to them, but
Right.
you can tweak it out to make it really nice.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, Jeff says, so based on what you said, should people transport their household goods down instead of buying new stuff? And does it make the economics, does it make sense? Absolutely, Jeff, okay? And because Costa Rica just passed a new law saying that if you get your residency and then you're allowed to transport a container with your household goods, import tax free. So now it is worth it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Before it wasn't.
Before I
It
would have
didn't
told
make
you it
sense.
wasn't
Yeah.
worth it, okay? And it wasn't worth it before. But now, with the new law, because they want to incentivize, and Costa Rica does want you here, Jeff. Costa Rica wants you here, and because they want you here, they're going to allow you to bring your vehicles. You can bring an airplane, a helicopter, boat, car.
But not all that, babe. It's just two items.
Well, just two vehicles.
vehicles.
You know, but anyway, you can bring your stuff and your household items tax-free, import-free.
Yeah.
So yes, it does make sense right now. Jump on it while it's and that just passed.
Yeah, it's not into practice yet.
Yes,
It's not.
yeah. They still got to work all the fine-tuned details out.
Yeah.
Good question though, Jeff. Okay.
And that's only for people who become or apply. Is it just when you apply? I always forget.
Yeah,
about
it's
that.
only the people that meet the requirements to become a resident. Okay, so once you meet
And
the
make
requirements and you
application.
start apply,
Yeah.
then you're allowed. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if you're just coming and you're going to be the perpetual tourist,
Yeah.
then that benefit does not apply.
Yeah, that's right. So Scott asked a really good question. He says, "Is 500,000 enough to retire in Costa Rica?"
Like with no future income, like just living off of.
That's a
that
good question.
500,000?
So since he didn't give me the details, I'm going to assume, Scott, you're saying that if you had $500,000 and you had no more future income, could you retire on that? My short answer is going to be yes. Okay, and that depends on how long you're going to live and how extravagant you're going to be.
Right.
Because
and
there
if you
is
have
a-
any medical issues
That's
that
right.
come up, and
There's a lot of Ticos who live here, and the average income for a Tico could be anywhere from $750. Down in San Vito, they can live on $250, $300 a month. Okay, and that's hard to believe. Okay,
that's because they get their house is paid for, their
they can get a free house.
medical
You know.
is paid for.
That's right.
They grow their own food.
That's right. So they're living on $250, $300 a month. Teachers are living on $2,000 a month. Okay, and these are just average incomes. And so if you're making $2,000 a month, that's a lot. So you just figure $2,000 a month times 12, that's $24,000. You just go ahead and calculate. You can really live very, very, very good on $2,000 a month. You can live very good. So just take and divide 2,000 by 500,000, see how many years that's going to last you. That will answer your question, okay? Now, you got to keep in mind you still got to have a piece of property or you got to rent. But you can rent cheap or rent extravagant. So I hope that answers your question, Scott, okay? So in here, it just all depends on your livelihood or your lifestyle, okay?
Yeah.
Dave asked a question that says, is cannabis legal or anytime soon? And from my understanding, cannabis is legal. Now, here's what I see all the time. And we've been all over Costa Rica, and I will see people, kids, in the park smoking marijuana, and the police will be walking right by them and never say a thing. So here's my understanding. If you're smoking marijuana for personal consumption, nobody's going to bother you. Is it legal? I don't know, but no one's going to bother you, okay? If you're going to try to sell it, that's a whole different story. You might be in trouble. But from my understanding, I think you can even grow your own, okay? But hey, I'm not a policeman. I'm not an attorney. I'm just telling you what I've seen, okay?
Well, and lots of Ticos have, well, I say lots, mostly some young people that have talked about it. They say it's legal No, it's not. How do they say that? It's not legal, but nobody's gonna stop you for personal use and personal, like growing for your personal use. But if you're trying to grow and sell, then they say that the police could give you trouble with that. I guess it's similar to their prostitution law. And this is an interesting fact, but prostitution is legal in Costa Rica. A woman can be a prostitute if she wants to legally, but what would you call it? Pimping?
Pimping is not.
Yeah,
So
you can't like be the
in other words,
the jefe of the.
That's right. So a woman can legally prostitute herself and make money, okay? But I can't go pimping. A woman can't go pimping because now that becomes sex traffic, okay? And that's where abuse comes in. So a woman can decide that she wants to prostitute, make money, take care of her family, do whatever. Prostitution is legal. Pimping is not, okay? So there's just a lot of things that are different. And so
just
good,
because
bad, or
it's
indifferent.
illegal doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because it does exist
That's right.
here.
Okay. So Judith asks, is it safe to live in Costa Rica? And I think Costa Rica is very, very safe to live in. You do have to use common sense, just like anywhere in the world. You know, in the United States, I would not want to live in the Bronx or in the slums or whatever. So there's bad places that you don't want to live in the United States. There are bad places in Costa Rica. You know, for me, I personally...
Kind of rough areas.
Yeah, rough areas. For me, I personally would not want to live in Puerto Viejo in Costa Rica. Bad attitudes, bad people, you know, the vibe. I don't like the vibe, okay? A lot of drugs. Some people love Puerto Viejo, okay?
I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, it's no. Lemoyne is worse. Okay, Lemoyne is worse than Puerto Viejo. Puerto Viejo is a fun place.
Yeah, and
I just don't like the attitude of some people, you know. So it just all depends. But all in all, Costa Rica is safe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you use some good common sense.
I feel safer here than I do in a lot of places.
Don't think and leave your backpack in your vehicle and your car locked up. Your window's going to be broken and the backpack stolen.
Yeah.
Use common sense.
And depends on the area you're in. Like many of the neighborhoods that we've lived in, I walk to the store by myself. You know, go exercise, sit at the park by myself. I'm not scared at all. I don't feel in the least bit threatened. But there are other areas, like Alan was saying, there are areas in San Jose that I would, you know, people have told us, don't go out by yourself at night, or even as a couple, don't be walking on the street at night. So, but overall, I have felt safe in Costa Rica in most areas that we've been. And like Alan was saying, the port city of Limon, we've experienced a little bit of like what looked like maybe some gang activity or whatever, but mostly we've heard about it. We've heard that you know, they have some gangs and some drugs over there, so we just stay away from there. And
now, AC asked a really great question, and AC says, hey, I know this is kind of Pacific and general at the same time. My wife and I, we don't get hung up on material things, right? That's like Rebecca and I. We're not hung up on material things. You know, we just want to enjoy life.
Yeah, we want to experience life.
Yeah, we want to experience stuff instead of having material things. So they don't get hung up on, but I want to build guitars. So obviously his hobby, his craft is building guitars, and is $1,200 a month. If I bring $1,200 a month, can I live Can I live on that kind of semi-close to a city or town? And my answer is absolutely. You want to watch our channel. We did a video that says cost of living in Costa Rica. It's been the #1 video when you put in cost of living in Costa Rica for a very, very long time, since we've done it. And it's, you know, and we talk about, can you live in Costa Rica on $1,000 a month? You can. You're not living high on the hog.
Right. You're not going out to eat at fancy restaurants. You're not going buy American-style foods in the grocery store. Those things are expensive.
But you can live in Costa Rica on $1,000 a month. There's the majority of Costa Ricans live in Costa Rica in under $1,000 a month. Keep in mind, a lot of them are still living with mom and dad, but some of them are living in their own house, but they don't have a mortgage because they qualify to get a free house from the government on their property. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration on that, okay?
Yeah, and in Costa Rica, there's still a lot of multi-generational houses, you know.
That's
so
right.
So they save money that way. Everybody in the family works, and they all contribute to the household.
Yeah.
So,
So absolutely, AC. It just really depends on your lifestyle.
yeah,
According to what you told me, yeah, I think you could easily live on
yeah,
$1,200 a month.
yeah. Because
But
you
you'll
can,
pick and choose what you're going to do.
right? You can find inexpensive rent. You can buy without owning a vehicle, which can be a annual expense as well as maintenance and so forth. But you can get around in Costa Rica almost everywhere by bus, or cab. Even if you're out in the sticks, you might have to walk to a bus stop, but the buses go, I mean, not far out like we are, but away from the city, reasonably away from the city. The buses pass all over the place. You'll see bus stops.
Yeah.
So there are, the utility bills are really low because you don't have to run the AC. You don't have to have a heater. In Louisiana, our electric bill, and we just had a modest home. It was, almost $500 a month in the summertime. And here, my goodness, we barely run a fan ever.
Absolutely.
So all those things make it to where, make it possible. And then if you eat a lot of natural grown, you shop at the farmer's market and you eat kind of meagerly instead of,
Well, if you eat healthy, it's easy to eat healthy in Costa Rica, and it's very cheap because fruits and vegetables are everywhere. You have these farmers markets all over the place, almost in every town, where locals are growing stuff and they're selling stuff, and it's very, very cheap. So yeah, you can. We eat very, very healthy.
yeah. And it's not that you can't ever go out to eat and enjoy a meal. If you're on a tight budget, there are plenty of sodas all over the place. They call them, it's like little mom and pop. A lot of times it's in a person's house. They just have a little, they turn the carport into a little cafe. They call it a little soda.
Yeah.
And, you can eat for really
Yeah.
good price there.
Now, Judith, yeah, sodas are my favorite places to go eat. You don't have a huge selection, but it's kind of like going to grandma's house and eating whatever she's cooking. There's a little selection, but it's a great place. It's cheap.
Yeah.
Judith asked a question and says, what cities are the safest? Okay, now, I'm going to say almost any city is safe outside of the San Jose metropolitan area. Anytime you're in a city, a great big city, you're going to have a lot of crime. But if you get away from the metropolitan area, almost any city is safe. Now, obviously, in my opinion, Lemoyne per capita is, and it's been proven, is the most crime-riddled and the unsafest place. But anyway, get away from that. Lemoyne, there's a lot of safe places. So you can go, it's just very, very safe there, okay? Now, Wayne asked a question because I said that I didn't like Puerto Viejo, and he wanted to know, is it immigrants or is it Ticos? Most Ticos have a great attitude, okay? Most Ticos are laid back, relaxed, non-confrontational, but the problem I had was you would have a lot of it was Afro-American Jamaican influence. Don't have a problem with people of color. Some of my best friends are people of color. I grew up with them, okay? But you have people with attitudes, no matter who they were, but it wasn't Ticos. It was the Jamaicans, I don't know, it was the Afro-American people there. So you had people there that had just bad attitudes where, I'm backing out into the road. There's plenty of sidewalks, but they kind of like dare you to run them over. I'm like, dude, come on, So
they were walking in the street where the cars are supposed to be instead of on the sidewalk, and then giving you the attitude, like daring you to run over them.
So
it's little things like that. That kind of stuff didn't bother me that much, but of course he is the one that was having to deal with being the protector and.
Yeah. So, and Doug brought up a good point. Jaco, Jaco's a nice place. However, Jaco at night, prostitution's legal. Anytime you have prostitution, you have drugs. And so, and Doug brought up a good point.
It's a big party scene, and it's very touristy. So the criminals aren't going to go out into the countryside to rob people. They're looking
that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
And there have been people that have been killed, for one person was killed for his camera, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
But who knows? We don't know the details of that. He might have fought back. I don't know. Maybe that's why it escalated.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. So
But
that's
as
good.
far as the different cities, it's hard to pick a. I mean, you have to
Yeah,
look at the.
most cities are. It's kind of like really Hako. You want to be any place that has lots and lots of tourists. Well, kind of stay on the outside of those cities, okay? Because anywhere where there's lots of tourists, you have more crime. Now, Judith asked questions. Says, well, how much do you pay for health insurance? And we don't pay anything for health insurance, okay? With the exception that Costa Rica did make it mandatory for us to have traveler's insurance if you are not a resident. Since we're not a resident yet, still going through that process, we have to buy the traveler's insurance. Inside the form, we tell you where you can get the cheapest and best traveler's insurance. And heck, I bet it don't cost us $100 a month. Very cheap, okay?
Yeah.
So just gives you an idea.
And we had health insurance for many years, and then we're applying for residency and have the pretty much when we've gone to the doctor, we pay cash. We go to the private or the social. It's not that expensive.
Yeah. Now, Jeff asked a really great question, and I don't know that I can answer this question honestly, Jeff, but I'm going to do my best. So Jeff says, how much haggling goes on in the local markets? Okay. So, Rebecca and I are pretty much the same on this. You tell me how much you want, I'm going to pay you if I think it's fair. If it's not fair, I'm going to go to the next guy. I don't like to haggle. However, I've heard from other people that if you go to some of the ferias and some of the markets, it depends on the person. If they're not real honest and they see that you're a gringo, the price usually goes up. Then you're going to have to haggle, okay? But once you get here and you know what the normal prices are for things, you don't have to haggle.
Just walk away.
Yeah, and most people will know that, hey, I loved it when we lived in an area for a while and the locals got to know who we are, because then you ended up being treated like a Tico and you got honest prices.
Right.
But some places we went to, they treated us like tourists at first, and the prices were always more expensive. You would get the gringo price, and that would burn me up because I'm just not that type of person. I don't care who you are, black, white, green, red, yellow, blue. You can look like a rainbow. I don't care. The price is always the same. But, in Costa Rica, it's common practice, and so you have to just protect yourself and know. So I don't know in reality how much haggling there is, but you just have to be aware and know it does happen, and you do have to haggle. If you don't haggle, you'll get cheated in a hurry if they're giving you the gringo price.
Yeah. We've heard that from a lot of people, not just our experience.
Yeah. And Doug brought up a very good point here, because Costa Rica makes it mandatory that you buy traveler's insurance. But if you are vaccinated, okay? So if you can show that you're vaccinated, guess what? And you've had all of your vaccination, that's one of the benefits of being vaccinated. You don't have to buy traveler's insurance. And in the news, I haven't reported yet, Costa Rica just opened it up for, I think, 20 and below, or any 20 years old, they're getting vaccinated. So Costa Rica is really pushing and pushing and pushing everything they can for those people that want to get vaccinated, which then brings in another question someone asked and said, do you think Costa Rica's ever going to make it mandatory? That's an open-ended question.
I could see it going either way. I could see them making it mandatory, and then I could see where maybe they wouldn't.
You heard it from Rebecca. She says she could see it going either way, and I agree, but I disagree. I think because Costa Rica wants the tourists to come and they realize enough people don't want the vaccination, I think that Costa Rica is never going to make it mandatory, but they're going to encourage people as much as possible to get vaccinated. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Good question.
When
though.
it comes to tourists, I agree with you on that. But I was thinking of as a country for their residents, I could see them making it mandatory for, their people. Maybe not for the tourists, but
maybe so, huh? Yeah, a good point. So that's a good question, right? Now, for these people that's wondering how much it costs, Storm Rider says, hey, I'm single. I rent a 12-foot by 12-foot room with a bathroom, kitchen area. It's a 6-minute walk to Walmart. It has water and electricity included. Are you ready? Drum roll. How much does it cost her per month? Only $150 a month. Absolutely. In Costa Rica, you can rent very, very, very affordable. The last house we lived in that we rented long term was $200 a month, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. The electricity, the grass cutting, the trash, the water was included, $200 a month. Yes, absolutely, you can rent very cheap here. The problem with renting is you're limited as to what you can or cannot do, and but you can rent very, very cheap. And Storm Rider, she must be pretty close to San Jose, and she says it's relatively safe-ish in the San Jose area. Okay, so all depends here.
Yeah, I mean, you get the vibe when you're going through certain neighborhoods. Just like Alan's saying over around Puerto Viejo, because it was such a touristy city. At night, it would get, there was a lot of attitudes, a lot of maybe drug selling, things like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that your life is in danger, but it's anytime that there's some criminal activity. Of course, if it's not even.
And that's
illegal
anywhere
there,
in the world, right? I mean, anywhere in the world that you go, there's going to be these unsavory places. So really.
And at certain times of the day, just like what we said with Hako. Hako's fine during the daytime. It's just the night scene,
Absolutely, right. So it just really all depends on where you're at.
And we're not talking about 8, 9 o'clock at night. We're talking about,
daytime, where you can see.
No, the night time is what I'm talking about. Like, because we've gone out for dinner, for supper, and been leaving the area, the Hako walk and all of that.
The time we're talking about is party time, right? What is party time? Well, party time is around 9, 10, 11 o'clock.
Yes.
Now, because of the COVID pandemic situation, everything's been shutting down at 8, 9 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. But, normally the party time starts around 9, 10 o'clock. That's when things begin to get dangerous in some areas, right? So, but a lot of places are just very, very nice, right? So, I'm looking at some of the questions right here.
Yeah. I think before you move, like buy in an area or sign a long-term lease in an area, ask the local people. They will tell you.
That's a very good point.
They're always glad to help. We've had
now,
people.
It doesn't mean you're going to get the right answer, does it? Because, some people are very helpful. Some people don't know the answer to the question, and they're going to give you an answer and may not know the answer. So it's always important, no matter what you're doing, to ask 2 or 3 different people.
Yeah.
And that way you'll find out. So now, Tanya asked a good question. It says, how is the banking system there? As an American teacher coming there to teach, should I trust a bank? Okay, good question. Use prepaid card or keep my home bank? Have you had any really scary bug stories? So, Tanya, that's a good question. As far as banking, for a very long time, we kept our own banks. There's nothing wrong with keeping your own bank. Sometimes you can save money. We now have a local bank, and we do it for convenient issues because having a local bank, we can pay our electricity, our water. We can pay a lot of things online, recharge, your internet, all kind of things. Okay, but you don't have to have a local bank. But most of the local banks are safe. I don't know why, but there have been some scary, stories about the banks.
Yeah.
But I've not experienced any issue with the banks.
No, and I don't think it happens with individuals necessarily. A lot of the, what do you call it? The banking. I'm at a loss for the words, but the criminal activity that has gone on with the banking has been at a high level, like with loans and different things like that between big businesses, not anybody ripping off individuals.
Yeah.
You know.
If you've got a good bank, Tanya, then you can use your regular debit card, use your regular credit
Yeah.
card.
I think
Okay.
almost everybody keeps their home bank because, you still have to, well, as long as you keep going back, you kind of need to
Yeah.
have your um, your home bank established, in
The
place.
only thing with having a home bank is that, if your debit card expires, if your credit card expires and they need to mail you another one, they're not going to, in most cases, they're not going to mail it to Costa Rica. So you need to make sure that you have family and friends where they can mail that new debit card, Visa, to them, and then have that family member send it to you here in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Okay, so
'Cause
that's just
that's
something you
been
need
an
to know.
issue, yeah. But if you're going back for visits, you can pick up your debit cards and stuff like that when you go back for a visit.
Yeah, and as far as having any really scary bug stories, well, I bet you there was a grasshopper this big. No, actually, there was a grasshopper as big as Rebecca's hand.
Yeah,
so
there really was.
It was a huge bug. So they do have some pretty big bugs here. We've seen some tarantulas, but seen scorpions. But really, I mean, nothing really scary. Okay.
It depends, though, babe.
Well, it depends. Yeah, I mean, some people get scared if a mosquito,
I was not excited about that spider that crawled out of my shoe this morning.
Okay, now someone asked, he says, hey, I'm sorry if you already answered this. I just got on. He says he's coming to Costa Rica in April, and do you have to have the vaccine? No, you do not have to have the vaccine. You do not have to have the test. All you have to do is fill out, you have to have your traveler's insurance, and you do have to fill out the health pass. Now, if you can prove that you have the COVID vaccine, you don't have to have the traveler's insurance. But no,
Yeah,
you
that
do
took
not.
effect today.
That's right. That took effect today, huh? So you do not have to have the vaccine, okay? So yeah, you can come visit with no problems. I'm taking a look at some of the other questions here. Okay. Martin had something here and says, we won't put up the race garbage. And in Costa Rica, you normally will not have any problem with race. Here's what we have learned, okay? In Costa Rica, let's see. I think in any country you're going to have some people that have issues with race, okay? Come on, people. It's 2021. I don't think anyone has a problem with race anymore. Some of my best friends are people of color. Call me what you want to call me. Come on. For me, we all bleed the same color. We all bleed red. We're all the same people. We just wear different clothes. I think
it's not about what color you are. It's how do you treat. I mean,
how do you treat people, right?
You got people in your own family that might treat you bad.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have any problem with race issues in Costa Rica.
I don't
really
think so.
And I don't think you have that problem in the United States. I think people that have that problem are the ones that perpetuate that issue. I don't think there's a problem. So I don't think you'll have that problem.
No, I think Costa Ricans love everybody.
Yeah. Costa Rica is a very nice people, very laid back, very not confrontational, okay? Now, Benita says, hey, when is the sunset where you're at? Last December, sunset was around 5:30 in Jaco. And you're right. Pretty much the sunset is the same time almost everywhere in Costa Rica because Costa Rica is a very small country. So anywhere in Costa Rica, the sun is going to set around 5:30 to 6 o'clock. And where we're at in the mountains, it's going to set around 5:30, 6 o'clock. We're just not going to get to see it because its sun sets behind them mountains.
Yeah,
okay?
We have to go to the coast to enjoy the good sunset.
That's right. So now Jeff asked a question and says, can you recommend a good website to identify some 6 to 12 month rentals while we decide where we want to relocate? And absolutely. Inside the forum, there is a section. I think it's in the free section where you can download a PDF, and we give you the links to all of the websites that we use because it's very, very difficult. From the United States, you'll probably never find those websites, but we found a lot of these websites, and we put them on a PDF. So if you go to the forum, then you can, if you haven't signed up, sign up for free and go look for that, and you can find the links to those websites that we use where you can find some long-term rentals.
Yeah. And what I tell people is, pick a rental. Don't stress it with the price. If you can't find anything that you would want to pay long term, come with that. Maybe you have to pay a little more for that rental, and then just start looking once you're here, because a lot of things you can find by word of mouth, talking to people, and you can find a lot better deals that way. So, if you have to overpay for a month to afford you time to look around, just don't think, okay, we've got to sign a year lease. Don't sign a year lease or something.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, Rebecca, because when we first came, we paid $500 for a rental, and it was way, way, way overpriced, okay?
Yeah. And there was a place we wanted, I wanted, and it was $800. Once we got here, we saw that, my goodness, that was way overpriced.
Way overpriced. So, really, while there's plenty of websites out there, the truth of the matter is that you will find more places to rent much, much cheaper after you get to Costa Rica. Like Rebecca said, do not, read my lips, do not sign a lease ever in Costa Rica when you first get here. Get here, tell them that you're looking for a place that you might stay for a long time, but you're looking for a good place and you don't know because you've never been. Rent it for 1 month at a time, and then you can be knocking on doors. You can go to the farmers markets. You can talk to people, talk to neighbors, and the farmers market's a great place to hang out and talk to the locals and say, do you know any place to rent? Talk to the locals. You will find some cheap places to rent.
Restaurants.
That's right.
You don't have to necessarily knock on doors, but you will see signs. They tend to put signs, on the fence or on the house, and not listed.
Yeah.
Not listed on a website, not listed in a newspaper or anything like that.
Now, Janice asked a question, says, isn't it around 5:47 right now? Yes, you're right. It is 5:49 right now, Costa Rican time, and the sun is going down. So in about another 15 minutes, it's going to be almost dark here. Does look bright, but I got an extremely good iPhone, believe it or not. Yeah. So, and there's no lights here. So, yeah. Anyway, that just gives you an idea. So, hey, great questions here. If I haven't answered your question, go ahead and put your question in there right now. Tommy says, finally off the grid. Absolutely. I am so excited to finally be off the grid. Finally down here where I can put down some roots, okay? Yeah. I'm amazed. We've had a great time already today. I think we have been live here, since 4 o'clock. So we've been live for almost 2 hours already. So we're going to shut it down in at least 10 more minutes. But if I haven't answered your question, look, I do want to answer your question, and I'd love it. I'd be tickled pink if you'd make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. It only takes you 2 seconds to do that. And when I look in the analytics, I am a bit of a tech turd, man. I look at all of the technical stuff.
You realize what you said?
I know what I said, but, I'm a tech nut, tech turd, whatever you want to call it. I look at all of it.
Tech nerd, not tech turd.
Well, it's whatever you want to call it.
We've been on too long.
I look at all of this. I've done gone from apple juice to some homemade Beano. So maybe that's it. Anyway, in the analytics, right now we've got over 7,000 subscribers, but that only represents about 20% of our viewers. We normally have 50 to 60,000 people watching our channel, every week. So it only takes a moment for you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and it really makes a big difference. The numbers don't matter to me, but it does to YouTube. And the more people that subscribe, the more people that like, the more people that comment, it tells the algorithm that you like the content, you enjoy what you're learning, you value the channel, and they push it out there so that more and more people will actually see it. And that way we in turn can help more people. You know, we spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of sweat equity to do this for you. So we greatly appreciate it when you do that little bit of effort, when you join as a premium member in the forum, or when you donate on the channel. You know, we greatly just appreciate you guys, okay?
Yeah, we appreciate the community.
Absolutely. So if you haven't put in your question, we definitely want to help you. I don't know if this is Vino Blanca or not. Let me tell you about this. This is a homemade banana vino, okay? Man, this stuff is good. I mean, hey, go ahead. Somebody ask me, how good is it? I'm going to tell you. This is homemade banana wine. I've made some out of starfruit cannabula. I've made some out of several different things, and I absolutely love this stuff. Whew, man, that stuff smells. I'm telling you, this stuff is good, okay? So let me tell you how good is it. If you put this wine on top of your head, I better not do it, your tongue will beat your brains out trying to get it. I mean, it's that good.
Silly.
That's good stuff, okay? So anyway, look what Blacksmith put down there. Turd, take turd. So,
And it is illegal to make homemade wine for sale
For
in
selling.
Costa Rica unless you have a
license. So I don't sell this stuff. You come visit me, I might give you a bottle, and you can donate if you want. No. So no, you cannot. We don't. I make this for personal use only. Okay. So anyway.
Bunch of bananas, some water, some yeast.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
some
look.
sugar.
This is pure. You know, this is no chemicals. This is fruit, sugar, and yeast. That's all. And Tommy says, how much alcohol? This kind. Look, I have to. I won't lie. I added a little extra sugar, and I added some strong yeast, so it's probably about 15% alcohol. It's a lot stronger alcohol than the normal wine. Woo! It's very, very good. Okay?
The horse flies
Oh,
are
the
coming
horseflies
out.
came out. So, anyway, yeah, I might. John says, hey, you want to share your recipe for the banana wine? I might actually do that. I might put that recipe over in the forum. You know, we've been super, super busy, but now that we're finally here, I'm excited. Rebecca says, you can't use that excuse no more, that when you get to the off-grid homestead. You're here now. So now that we're here, I can finally get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
So-
My goodness, the horse flies are taking over.
Yeah. So, anyway, lots of great stuff. If I haven't answered your question, I'm looking through the comments right now. Yeah, what would you call that? It wouldn't be Vino Blanca. That's Vino Yellow or what? I don't know what you call it.
I don't know.
So, Janice says, how do you change your phone or charge your phone, the car? Oh, so Janice, right now, we do have a solar system, and because we have a solar system just installed, we can charge our phone, charge our batteries, you know, and I've got one electrical outlet, only one right now. I got one electrical outlet where we charge our phone, charge our laptops. But in the next week or two, I'll be installing more electrical outlets as we build the off-grid homestead and all that good stuff, okay?
Yeah, in the past we haven't worried about charging because we haven't had the internet. But
Yeah.
now we have the internet.
That's right. Now, Judith asked, what is the time difference? And, you know, in Costa Rica, I love it because the time never changes. We don't have daylight savings time, right?
Right, they don't participate in daylight savings time.
And so the time, it's Costa Rican Standard Time. And
It's Central Standard Time.
yeah, half the year we're Central Standard Time. Half the year I think we're Mountain Time. So anyway, so the electricity we have right now is solar panels, and well, I don't foresee ever, you know, we are I think 15 miles. Let's see, no, we're 10. I think we're 10 kilometers to the closest electric pole. So I think we're 10 kilometers to the closest electric pole. I don't foresee them ever having electric lines all the way up here. It's too remote, not enough families, okay? So I don't think they'll ever. We'll have solar panels, and that's okay. And we'll have, you know, whatever we need to make electricity.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I hope you guys have really enjoyed today's show. I've definitely had a good time doing it. It's getting dark on us, getting late. We had a lot of technical challenges, but hey, that's the truth with anything in Costa Rica. If you're going to be in Costa Rica, don't take no for the first answer. Keep asking, keep pursuing, keep being persistent, and you can do whatever you want to do, okay? We didn't, so Tommy says, did you finally buy a finca? Tell us all the details. So we haven't bought our own place yet, but we're at a place where we have a lease, and I'm hoping to buy this place, but we do have a lease at the moment, okay? And so we're putting down roots, okay? Judith asked a question and says the plugga. I don't know what the plugga is. Are the same like America or the same like Yuga? I don't know what the plugga is, Judith. So, and yes, Doug, I do have a generator backup. So if for some reason something happens, and by the way, the solar panel on the tower, I think it may not be enough to generate the electricity I need for that battery. I might have to put in a second solar panel. All that stuff we're going to learn about on the Off-Grid Homestead videos, and I'm so excited to share that.
She's asking about the plugs, like to plug into the wall.
Oh, maybe she's talking about the electrical plugs.
Yeah.
And the electrical plugs are the same as the United States. So if you're talking about the electrical plugs, Judith, yeah, it's the regular electrical plugs that you would, 120 plugs that you would have, or 110 plugs.
110, and they have 220 for the certain appliances.
All right. Well, what time is it? Hey, it's been 2 hours now. Greatly appreciate it. At the moment, we've got more likes and we have people watching, and I'm stoked. So I really, really appreciate all you folks. Hey, until next time, make sure you subscribe. I saw that Tommy said I just subscribed. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and I can't wait to see you next Sunday. I don't know if we're doing a live. I don't know what we're doing. Every day is just one day at a time, but we're enjoying life at our Off-Grid Homestead right here in Costa Rica. Good night, folks. We'll see you next time.